I am gay. How often do you hear those 3 words? Those 6 letters that thousands of people around the world and in our own community are afraid to say. Afraid to say because they are afraid of losing their dignity, of losing the respect of those they love, of losing the recognition of their most basic rights, and in the worst cases, of losing their lives. I am gay, and this is my story, just like the many of thousands of voices around the world and in our community that you cannot hear. I was the first person I knew in Springfield to publicly come out. I came out when I was 18 to my family. That means I spent almost 20 years, a fifth of a decade, not knowing anyone like me. Now, how is this possible? According to a recent Gallup poll from July of this year, about 3.4% of the American population identifies as being part of the LGBT community. Now, you might say, well, that's true in general, but we're Springfield, Missouri. Those kind of people aren't here. Actually, according to the study, 3.4% is even across all regions in the country, regardless of how the population is distributed. There are gay people in our area, and we must acknowledge that fact. I am one of them, and I know many of them. But many of them are still closeted, afraid to say who they are. What does this say about our area, about our city, and our ethical duty to it? It says that Springfield is not a safe, healthy, or happy place for people like me. Oh, now let's turn back the clock to figure out why. Because I can make all the claims I want, but I need evidence to support this. Let's go back to April of this year, April 7th to be exact, when the SOJI repeal took place. Now, for those of you who are freshmen who may have moved here, you may not know about this. I've lived here my whole life, and this was one of the most striking and painful moments of my living in Springfield. Now, to understand what the SOJI repeal is, you have to understand what SOJI is. Now, according to the Springfield Government's Document Center, the SOJI ordinance amended previous anti-discrimination laws to protect LGBT individuals from discrimination in housing, employment, commerce, and public accommodations. Now, after the April repeal, the LGBT community was no longer protected from discrimination. I was no longer protected from discrimination in my own hometown. Now, to quote the news leader, on April 8th, the day right after the repeal went into effect, "This changes everything. Now we are divided." Religious oppression changes the face of my people and changes the face of the LGBT movement. In Tina Fettner's article, Working Anita Bryant, The Impact of Christian Anti-Gay Activism on Lesbian and Gay Movements, she says that the LGBT movement has always historically shown that it becomes afraid, angry, and secluded when it is attacked by the religious right. That is not how I want to live my life. I don't know about you, but I don't want to live my life better. So what's the solution? How do we stop this from happening? It's simple. We need another voice. We need representation. We need visible LGBT individuals and allies in our community, and we desperately need them now for the young people, for the people who don't have a voice. But wait, I haven't given you enough evidence yet. So let's talk a little bit more. Let me show you why Springfield's a problem area. Because if you live in the college or around the college and go to college and all you do is college, you're not going to know about what the intricacies of this community are like if you've grown up in it your entire life. Now let me tell you the history of Springfield just shortly. Springfield is a historically conservative community. There's a saying I grew up with: if you look in Springfield, there's a church on every corner and there's an opinion to go with it. Well, let me tell you about some of those opinions. These are 2 articles from the news leader. One was published on April 2nd, the other on April 5th. The first is the opinion of a local megachurch pastor, who I won't name, won't play dirty. but the name of a local megachurch pastor, who's the pastor of 9,000 people. He told those 9,000 men, women, and children that being gay was an abomination and that they needed to go to the ballot boxes to prove it. Not only was he the one who did it, this is not an isolated event, although 9,000 people is hardly isolated. He also, one of his superiors at his, I'm not exactly sure how the church works, but let me basically say one of his superiors sent a letter out to 35 of his fellow pastors, admonishing them to do the same. You know, there's a quote from the scriptures of Christianity, and it goes something like this. It's, "If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but I have not love, then I am a sounding gong and a clanging cymbal, and all that I knew was that the institution in my community that was supposed to be the voice of love did not love me. And if they could not love me, then how could anyone in my community love me?" Springfield is not a happy place for gay people. It is not a safe place for gay people. But why does it even matter? Why does discrimination matter? Why am I talking about this? It matters because it causes divisions in your communities. Did you know that 40% of the homeless teenagers in Springfield are gay, according to the Rare Breed, which is a local homeless shelter for teens? 2 out of every 5 are gay, and of those, the majority would say that their sexuality played into their losing their home. Moreover, the SOJI ordinance has divided our city. It has created a wall between opposite sides, which we must now fight to take down. Moreover, discrimination causes severe emotional and health repercussions. According to Mark Sandiford in Sociology Today in 2001, an article called "Coming Out in Rural America," the consequences are vast, and I'm not just talking about you feel sad and you cry. This is depression, this is suicide, this is an increased risk in correlation between sexuality, discrimination, and heart disease, Alzheimer's, stroke. My people are dying because of this. And moreover, in a community where the human rights of even one are violated, how can we say that we even cherish our own? So enough of talking of the problem. I'm here to tell you the good news. Here's what we need. Springfield needs brave, allied representatives for LGBT rights. Why? To give young people hope. The hope that I didn't have growing up as a closeted gay person in the Midwest. According to a Pew Center poll in June, most parents would not be upset if their children came out. So let me ask you, why are there not more happy coming out stories? The stories of how when I came out to my grandmother, she looked at me and she said, "So when are you going to move in? Can we go buy bedding?" And I said, "Sure." And then broke down into tears because it was not what I was expecting. Or the stories of how I came out to my cello teacher and she said, "This is beautiful and I love you for it." Where are the happy coming out stories in Springfield? They're waiting for you to make them happen. You can be that person. You can change this. Even one voice makes a difference. I am gay. 3 words, 6 letters, 1 voice. I can't do this alone. Will you stand with me?